December, the Oswego County Legislature calls to order. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Hanson.
Here.
Skinner.
Here.
Edick.
Here.
Bryant.
Here.
Brewer.
Here.
Sahosky.
Here.
Boynton.
Here.
Weinhold. Frawley.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Keeney.
Here.
Beckwith.
Here.
McMahon. Murray.
Here.
Warrendorf.
Here.
Jarrett.
Here.
Greenfield. Fenchak.
Here.
Shalafu.
Here.
Ponzi.
Here.
Chetney. Turner. Walker.
Here.
Bateman.
Here.
Sedek.
Here.
Babcock.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Ward.
Here.
Randall.
Here.
Balcom.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Chesbro.
Here.
Church.
Here.
Buck.
Here.
Tabor.
Here.
Russell.
Here. I'll ask at this time for Legislator Ted Jurek to lead us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, especially in this time of intense political campaign work, when emotions and energies are at peak, we look to you for guidance to the snaring mire of our own human pride and ego. The Bible says, let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck and write them on the table of your heart. Then you will win favor, good name, in the sight of God and man. And in all ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Do not fret because of evil men, or be envious of those who do wrong, for evil men will be cut off. Trust in the Lord and do good, and he will give you the desires of your heart. To this we say, Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to accept the minutes in the last regular meeting?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution approved. Minutes are accepted. I would like to ask at this time for Legislator Murray to come forward, and I believe he has a presentation.
I'd like to request that my committee, the Rural Resource Committee, come forward. And I'd like to also have Priscilla Van Goyer, and who is connected with the 4-H from Oswego County, and also our team ambassador, Cindy Van Gorder, and also Dennis Latito. Is that right, Dennis? Did I kill you? Come forward. Thank you. Cindy will read the proclamation for National 4-H Week. Cindy?
Whereas Oswego County's young people are our most cherished Oswego County resource, and whereas Cornell Cooperative Extension Association of Oswego County, with the indispensable backing of the Oswego County Legislature, serves the individual and group education needs of Oswego County rural and urban youth in 4-H youth development programs. And whereas Cornell Cooperative Extension Association of Oswego County 4-H youth development members are pledged to clearer community thinking, greater community loyalty, larger community service, and better living in Oswego County. And whereas across the magnitude of demonstration education disciplines including animal science, plant science, clothing and textile uses, outdoor skills, shooting and fishing sports, technology applications, human development, leadership and career development, engineering sciences, and natural resources management, Oswego County young people master worthwhile life skills using hands-on cooperative extension educational methods. And whereas Cornell Cooperative Extension Association of Oswego County 4-H Youth Development membership and volunteers number in the thousands of Oswego County residents. And whereas the energy of Cornell Cooperative Extension of Oswego County 4-H Youth Development Programming produces a valuable and vital volunteer multiplied educational service for Oswego County young people and significantly improves the quality of life in Oswego County. Now therefore, on recommendation of the Rural Resources and Extension Committee and on behalf of the entire Oswego County Legislature, designate Oswego 1995 as Oswego County 4-H Month. Incite, praise, and applaud Cornell Cooperative Extension Association of Oswego County's 4-H Youth Development Program for a job well done.
Teen ambassador, but I didn't remark about Dennis. He is active in the agricultural program for the Oswego County 4-H. Of course, Priscilla's been in the 4-H division for a good many years, and we appreciate the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Call upon Legislator Floyd Boynton, who has a presentation.
Press the roll and the help committee, please.
The NACO awards that the department has received over the past year or so, and I'd like to invite Joette Dean, who's our guest, to come up. We're very pleased that Joette and guests here this evening are here to receive this award. It certainly is something that we should be very proud of, given the quality of the program. And I'd like to have Joette give a little bit of a description about the program. I think you'll understand from that why the award was given.
The award was given for our Psychosocial Club program, which began in 1993. We had probably about 5 months worth of planning. And then we received funds from the Office of Mental Health. Mr. Collins at the time was very involved as well. This is a member-run club. We have staff who are assigned there. However, this particular club, the decisions are made by the members. The people who have mental illness, they chose the site, they selected it, they looked at the work sites, etc., which sort of situations they wanted to do. And we've been in business for about 2 years now, and we've been awarded a NACO award. This is a pre-vocational program, and we have a couple of our folks that are now in work situations.
The club takes that. We usually put them on our own walls. They deserve it. Thank you. Let's invite Michelle Benton up, please. Michelle to say a few words about the rapid mapping methodology. This is a program that she initiated. It's a highly technical one, and clearly is a cutting-edge piece of technology that we're currently applying in our department. And she deserves the recognition for this national award, and we're quite proud of that. Would you like to say a few words about the technology itself?
In general, we wanted to help some of the municipalities be able to promote infrastructure development. Well, of course, in order to do that, you have to present a feasibility plan for sewer and water improvements. That costs quite a bit of money, generally $40,000 to $60,000 for map preparation. So I basically incorporated some knowledge of computers into a drafting program which cuts the time frame for mapping by about 1/5 of the time frame. So therefore, the county is able to use our time to assist the municipalities in development of feasibility mapping.
Two down and two to go. Evan Watch is not here this evening, but clearly he has been here before you to speak about the rabies program and the public education pieces that they did, and that particular program was submitted to NACO for its consideration and won 2 national awards for which we are very proud. Evan was not able to make it here this evening, and we accept it on his behalf.
This time I would like to invite Legislator Van Schack to come forward with, he has a presentation.
Members of my committee, please come up here also. All right, once again, this is award night, and I think we should be proud of each of our departments. And we've always been very proud about employment training. I'd like to say something about that. Finish here, but you want to explain what this award is about?
Our NACO award this year was received for our program for our worker assistance center that was established about 18 months ago. It was established primarily as a result of the closure of Miller Brewing Company, and basically it was a model program in terms of our relationship with the company, organized labor, and the county, and all of the rest of the economic development agencies in our community, and recognized because we have a 90% placement rate of anyone who completes services at the Worker Assistance Center. 90% of those folks get a job. We're very proud of that program, and we're fortunate to be recognized by NACO.
I'd like to say a few words that go beyond what Nancy has said, because so often I've sat in this chamber as all of my legislators and heard the various awards, grants that are poured into Oswego County during the lease. How many years you've been down in employment training? 17 years, and the amount of awards and grants and such. And unfortunately, as so many of you are aware, the employment training, we've already lost 20 employees. The funding is no longer there. It's been 100% reimbursable, and the funds are drying up, as we all know, in various areas, but it's particularly hit Nancy's agency. So we've taken a very deep loss at that end. But we've taken also, for a number of us in a personal sense, we're taking a very deep loss because Nancy, who really has epitomized what I think is sterling work for the county, and you want to think about good county employees. Nancy's one of the first ones that leaps to mind. And I'm very sad to report, if you've not heard, that she's not going to be with us any longer. The only consolation I have is that at least she picked a good agency to go to, namely the college and working with Carolyn Rush. So I wonder if we could show our appreciation for her efforts here tonight.
Let me on my script. This wasn't planned. And Kurt, thank you for taking the opportunity to embarrass me. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you all for your support over the course of the years. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time in Oswego County and getting the opportunity to serve the residents of Oswego County. And again, thank you all.
At this time, Legislator Warrendorf was going to join us with his committee for a NACO award, but he's asked it to be postponed
Until next month.
until next month. Thank you, Tim. At this time, I would like to call on John D. Hollander for brief remarks on soil and water matters.
Before I get started here, I'd like to pass out a few of these. I'd like to start out with a little historical note, if it take me a few minutes here to do this. Some of you may remember this. It's a resolution that was passed some years ago. It says, whereas the Board of Supervisors has determined that conservation of soil resources and control and prevention of soil erosion are problems of public concern in the county, and that there is need, in the interest of the public health, safety, and welfare, for the creation of a soil conservation district in the county of Oswego, and has further determined that a substantial portion of the rural land occupiers of Oswego County desire the creation of such district. Therefore, now be it resolved that Oswego County be, and the same is, hereby declared a soil conservation district in accordance with the provisions of the Soil Conservation District Law, Chapter 883, Laws of 1945. Signed by Orrin Barker, Chairman then of the Board of Supervisors. Resolution was adopted and recorded and passed on the 4th day of October, 1945. And as you have in front of you, and as I just passed out to the head table, if you did a little simple calculations, October 4th, which is coming next month, will be our 50th anniversary. So on that note, you have an invitation to come and join us at our office at 2 Erie Street in the city of Oswego to honor and recognize our 50th birthday in serving Oswego County for the past 50 years, and hopefully for the next 50 years to come. The Soil and Water District, which is now the name of the Soil Conservation District, has been serving the residents of Oswego County very well in the agricultural community as we started out back in its infancy, up to the current status of serving all of the residents of the county, whether it be they private landowners, commercial developers, industrial placements, and also just the private home residents. So I guess I would just like to honor everyone here, inviting them and also the general public to come down and enjoy us on October 4th. Thank you.
This time I'd like to offer the floor for the introduction of visitors and members of the public who wish to speak. Legislator Zahaski.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'd like to introduce my neighbors, Mr. Lewis and Uganda, please.
Legislator McMahon.
I'd like to introduce William Schreiber, the Democratic Chairman of the Congress.
Legislator Ward.
Jim beat me to it. I just wanted to introduce Bill as a resident of Stone Parish.
Legislator Weinberg.
I'd like to introduce Ken Myers, fourth floor. He's trying to hide on me.
Legislator Aesthetic.
I'd like to introduce Dick Atkins, who's running for Alderman in the 7th Ward for the city this week.
Legislator Jarrett.
I'd like to introduce Mr. Roger Lamson from the town of New Haven, contender for the legislative position, District 13.
Anyone else? We'll then go into are there any presentations of petitions, communications, or notices? Any reports of town or county officials? Reports of...
Mr. Chairman, it gets to be a habit, but it says Honorable Robert Murray, and the good gentleman in the front row has got here, has been, and quack, quack. We all are in the same boat. We have 52 years of experience in this front row that is leaving this body come December 31st. But my usual question, Mr. Chairman, is I'm wondering about the report on the all policy. I'm going to lay that to not Jack, but I was going to ask Mr. And I was wondering, it says here, report is due to some legal technicalities. The auto policy report is not available. It will be distributed to everybody before the September meeting. Is there a hold up on that?
What'd you say, quack, quack?
Sorry? I have some more, but go ahead.
The policy will be distributed this evening.
Thank
Before you all leave, and you will have it to study over for a month, and the resolution will come forth at our October meeting.
Thank you very much. I was also wondering about the privatization of position? Oh, excuse me. Of the airport. Did we have any report on that, Mr. Chairman?
We did get the report.
Yes, that report has been referred to the Clayton, to the Highway Committee.
We haven't got it yet?
If you want a copy of it, I'm sure Clayton.
And another thing I was interested, prepared, submitted, and referred to the Highway.
Yeah.
Okay, another thing I was
How long are they going to sit on?
I was interested in the report of the 800 chunky, the 911 too. How are we doing on that?
The, the 911 project, we anticipate, well, we're hoping to, well, we're shooting for, how's that? A September cutover. I believe we're more than 50% done on the addressing. I'm trying to think who's the chair of that committee. But anyway, Mr. Chesbro? No, Mr. Balcom, right. Is that correct, Steve? We're about 50% done or more with the addressing. Frankly, what it will eventually hold up the 911 project is completion of the radio project. The Radio Communications Committee met this evening before this board meeting, and we hope to have an award on the radio system by the 1st of October, or thereabouts. Once that system comes in, I would say fall of next year will be cut over, Bob, would be my best guess today.
Jack, can I address a question to the chairman of the Highway Committee?
No, it should go through Frank. Go ahead.
When are we going to get that report, Clay?
We got a meeting next Wednesday, 10 o'clock at the airport with Bruce Phelps, the chairman of the committee. We're going to meet with Jack, Chairman Bruce Phelps, and whoever Bruce wants to be there. We got one man on the committee, on our committee, so we're going to hear from him next Wednesday, and then we're going to make some recommendations. If you want to come out, you're welcome to come out.
No, I'm busy that day. We got a vacuum cleaner.
Wasn't the results, the recommendations of the committee put in the press? Have I dreamt this?
What do we
I'm sorry.
What do we do?
Yes.
The report's available. I'm sorry if...
The legislature has it, the press has it. Any legislator who wants to come into my office, I don't know how many copies I got left. But that report's not a secret report, that's out. The Highway Committee is reviewing the recommendations, and will make, in turn, their recommendations on the recommendation. If anyone wants a copy of that report, we can certainly get it to you.
If I can say something, correct me if I'm wrong, Legislator Brewer, but when you took that report to the Public Works Committee, was that not a public meeting? And is that how the press got it? Because that was a public meeting when
we had a highway meeting, we had the highway and had the book, and everybody on the highway committee had it, we discussed it, so. Teresa wondered if we let it out. We didn't let it out only in a public meeting, and I told Teresa that.
But the Public Works Committee still has to bring that to the legislature in the form of a resolution or a recommendation. That's the correct. The fact that the paper got it only was because that Public Works meeting wasn't a public meeting. Any other report,
Mr. Chairman, I think it would be appropriate to distribute that to the full legislature so we can take a look at it, because my understanding of sitting in on some of their meetings and what I saw in the press was just a part of that total report, and I'd like to I'd like to have a copy of it, and I think every legislator here should have a copy of it.
I was told by one of the members of the committee that it was supposed to be confidential until such time as
That's what I heard.
it was approved. And, you know, we have executive sessions all the time, and I've been in committees where we had executive sessions, so as far as I'm concerned, somebody royally screwed up on this one.
Any other comments on this?
This is probably my fault, yes. I consider the report a public document once it's released. If the airport committee wishes to keep it under wraps, obviously we'll bound to their wishes, but...
Well, did they approve it or reject it or what?
Yes, the airport committee, or whatever we call it, the privatization committee, issued a report which was referred to the highway committee. I can certainly, if the airport committee has no problem, I can certainly Xerox a bunch of copies of that report.
Well, what action or reaction did the highway committee have to the report?
The highway committee is reviewing, there's a whole series of recommendations
Why
in the
didn't
report.
the chairman tell us about it?
Well, excuse me, I don't want to speak for the chairman, but I don't believe that the highway committee has met and made their response to the recommendations.
Oh, that's
in the
right, he
report.
said it's this Wednesday.
Right.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Legislator Bell?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I didn't hear Legislator Murray's complete question on the 911 question that he had, please. Would you repeat that, please, Tom?
No, I was just wondering what the status was. I'm on your committee,
Right.
Mr. Chairman. I feel you're doing a good job, but it just seems like that, I guess the older we get, the slower we get, but it's been on the floor since 1988, and what is this, 95, and apparently it's going to come to the fruition that we're going to have it. I just wondering what the status was. Has it gone out to bid? I just got a nice letter today from the Erickson, and I guess everybody else got one probably. No? What do you want for it?
Light part of that, Bob, is the fact that we're going to marry the 911 calling with the 800 trunking equipment at the same time. So Earl can probably maybe give you an update on the 800 trunking as the one that's going to come into
That's
play.
what I referred to first, was the 800 trunking, then the 911.
Right.
Whatever you want to do.
Legislator Ansel?
Now that we're on this, the 800 trunking business, I'd like to know, maybe Earl can tell me, are we going to have, everywhere in the county, are we going to have the same coverage now? Because I've heard, I haven't, of course, been to their meetings, I've heard rumors that some of them are going to get 95% coverage with portables, other ones are not going to get 95% coverage. You know, maybe we should be getting this straightened out before we go to bids. Because I'd like to see the county all get the same coverage.
Well, somebody respond to that?
Yeah, it's going to be 95% coverage throughout the county with mobiles. And then down the corridors of I-81 Hastings, where the Hastings Tower is, and Oswego and Fulton will have 95% coverage with portables. And there will be some with portables in some parts of the county, because of the topography, it won't be quite 95% with portables. It will be with mobiles.
Well, has anybody thought of, now when we visited Clinton County, for the spots where they didn't have the complete coverage of the 95% coverage, I don't know what.
Repeaters?
Yes, they put in repeaters. Have we considered getting a bid of what it would cost for the repeater? And for the areas that don't get the same coverage as Oswego and Fulton, I see the areas I'm talking about, Boylston, Redfield, maybe out some Stanton somewhere. Say for a set price, then if to get the same coverage we have here, then the company gets a bid, we'll put in a repeater station for that kind of money so that everybody in this county has the same coverage because they're all pay the same county tax rate. And I don't think it's fair to have somebody have less coverage than, you know, another portion of the county.
Yes, we've looked into that. One of the things is the unknown is when they guarantee 95% coverage, it's better than that. And every place we've been is when it's more like 98 or 97, as high as 99%. So you don't really know, Carl, until it's online and working, because this is just a computer readout of coverage, which it isn't.
This is what I'm addressing. I mean, I'm saying, get a quote what it costs for a repeater station.
Yeah.
And just for hypothetical figure, let's say it costs $20,000 or $150,000 for a repeater station. You get that quote. Now you go out for bids for the system from the same company. Now you can install the system. Now for the places that need a repeater station, they'll put it in that $150,000 so that we do all have the same coverage.
Well, you're all going to.
I think a light in Redfield or Boylston is worth as much as one in Oswego or Fulton or that.
Oh, definitely.
And we all pay the same county tax.
But they're all going to have 95% or probably better with mobiles.
What happens to a snowmobile accident back in the woods up in Redfield, Boylston? They get back to it mobile. Got to have two vehicles, a vehicle on the road and a vehicle in the woods.
Yes, I have a question for Earl. I'm glad Carl brought that up because it's my understanding in the past, this town of Hannibal, the western end of the county, has one of the areas that has a problem. And it was my understanding that the 800 trunk lighting system was going to solve that problem. So I hope that maybe that's a good point, I believe, that
right.
If that's the extent that we have to go to solve the problem, then maybe we should consider that.
Okay.
Well, that was my point. If we've,
We have to address the chairman. We're having a conversation back there between three people. If somebody wants to speak, address the chair first. And then we'll clear to go on, please.
well, I think I had the floor to begin
Yeah,
with.
but then Earl had the floor, and then Jack had the floor, and you can't keep it all evening for yourself, going back. We've got to get this thing operating in some semblance of order. I don't think it's right to have conversations between 2 or 3 legislators that go on and on. So,
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Legislator Hanson did have the floor. You didn't recognize Legislator Earl Chesborough. Legislator Belton gave him the floor.
I would think.
Mr. Chairman, if I could be recognized, I'll try to make this real quick so that we don't spend all night talking about this. Number one, Jack, you're absolutely right. Hannibal is one of the reasons we got into this system. This system will take care of Hannibal's problems. Number two, I think you have to understand what 95% 95 means, okay? 95% coverage doesn't mean that you don't have coverage in 5% of the area. 95% coverage means that 95% of the time when you click that little button, you're going to have communication, and they guarantee that you're going to have that. We did discuss the issue that you raised, Carl. To get guaranteed 95 throughout the county is an exorbitant number, okay? $14, $15 million. What we did discuss is exactly what you're talking about. The engineers and the vendors feel they're going to have sufficient coverage so that the Redfield area, the Boylston area, all the North Country will have good coverage, and repeater prices will be secured, okay, in the bid, in the event that we find some dead spots, and really the only place they anticipate there may be is in some of the more remote areas of Burnstown up in Redfield. And if that's the case, we will have a price for a repeater, and we will make sure that the entire county has sufficient coverage so that we will not be sliding one to the other.
That was my main concern, is, we're doing this, we appropriated a maximum of $5.9 million bond, and they want to make sure we end up with something better than we have now.
I have a question for Legislator Ward. I was wondering how we were coming on the videotaping, if it was gone out for bid yet.
Preempted my announcement that it is not. The General Government Committee reviewed the draft of the procedure for videotaping, the requirements. We are in the process now of getting additional input. We anticipate that the request for quote will go out, and it will have quotes back in the month of October.
Thank you.
Legislator Johnson.
Mr. Chairman, since we're in open discussion here and an open forum, I just want to learn the status of the racetrack, where we are with that at this point.
think legislators need to know that.
Can someone answer the question on racetracks?
Everywhere where it's closed.
Legislator Brewer. Legislator Brewer. You want floor?
The racetrack's right where it was, just, they didn't approve the study, so the racetrack is closed. It's not, no more discussion at the present time.
Thank you.
Legislator Buck.
Clayton, the whole park, as a matter of fact, I just read.
We're going to address the chair, let's do it every time.
Just in case it didn't happen, someone may have forgotten to do so. I've had some calls from constituents, Clayton, with regards to the facility at Silk Road. Kids have been down there trying to rollerblade, that sort of thing, and skateboarding. I asked Donnie, and he may have forgotten because it was in a conversation rather than writing, to bring it to committee to see if there was some way to utilize that piece of property while it's there. Would be a nice spot for kids in the area of Hope and Granby. Found the area, if they could, to find a place, a spot to park, a spot to ride your bike. I mean, the track's already there. I hate to see the stuff ripped up, but we've got it there. I think the major complaint that we've had was that the track was limited in its usage to one or two minor uses. This individual brought it to my attention that kids are there trying to rollerblade, and it's a good spot for me. In the country, it's hard to find a spot to rollerblade without getting a chance to get killed. I'd certainly like to have taken a look at if that could be open for a multitude of purposes and just let people go in there if they want to rollerblade or do their skateboard or bicycle, do it, if it can be done. I'm just bringing it up.
Legislative meeting,
To go back to 911, I don't know what has happened, but I have an area up there, and Vic Lawrence asked me why they weren't numbered. There's 9 or 10 places, some of them, the people are not in them in the wintertime, all the time. Some of them are, I mean, snowmobiles and so on, but they were never numbered. I gave it to Bill Dennery at the Sandy Creek Fair. He was going to look into it. He never got back to me. As of 2 weeks ago, Vic hasn't got a number yet. I think this is an area that maybe is a concern. It is to some of the constituents.
I'll take care of it. I believe Legislator Shalhoub will make some.
Bruce, I'd like a ruling on the liability of opening that track up to the type of situation that Bill's talking about, and where we would stand on that.
Mr. Chairman.
That's the first, when Mr. Buck mentioned that, that's the first I'd heard of that request. I'd like the committee to look at that, and we will be talking with our consultants. It's my understanding, my recollection is that the study that we've done concerning that affected any use of that track. And that's why that facility has not, it's remained vacant because of the problems concerning EPA and the study. We still have not heard from the Environmental Protection Agency concerning the supplemental pre-remedial design study that has been pending for the operable Unit 1, the on-site remediation of that site, let alone the contaminant pathways remediation feasibility study of the operable Unit 2 on that site, the off-site remediation. And those studies are still pending. We're still continuing to monitor the site, and it's right now, it would be my advice that we'll take that up with the Highway Committee, Mr. Legislator Buck's request. But if you want an opinion off the top of my head, it is that this legislature still abide by the recommendation of our expert consultants that said that facility remained vacant for the present time pending the outcome of these studies.
You know,
gets back to the original question that was asked back here, I don't know how many months ago, as to how did that track ever get built in the first place without proper authorization from this legislature and the proper investigation of EPA and whatever agencies oversee the thing. And this seems to be the question on the street is how did it get built to begin with? I mean, we wasted a lot of money on that thing. And people go by there and they say, boy, that's a great looking thing, but nobody's using it because we put the cart before the horse. And, you know, they're a little angry about spending all that money for a facility that, first off, was not authorized by this legislature to be built in the first place. And secondly, it wasn't done in a proper manner anyway.
Mr. Chairman?
I can respond to that. I believe that facility was authorized by this legislature through the Highway Committee. And I think we've discussed this previously as to the construction that was done out there, and we issued a full report to the legislature as to the status of it. And I don't think I've got anything further to add.
Legislator Taylor?
A couple weeks ago, it was brought to my attention through an article through Cranes that, I'm sorry, it was brought to my attention through an article through Cranes that the state was looking to bail out NIMO and purchase 9 Mile 1 and 2, reissue the bonds or refinance it, and then sell it back to NIMO. I have some major concerns here. We were promised by NIMO, or about 5 or 6 of us legislators sat in a special meeting with NIMO at one time. We asked them questions of them. They were going to get back to us. They never did. I have to find things in articles in New York City, okay, or in Albany, or wherever. I'd like to know what our administration knows about this, because I'll tell you, this is a very serious thing if in fact the state does this and we're not going to see any taxes, or we're only going to see transitional taxes. I would like some kind of report now, but I would also like, before the end of this year, NIMO to stand in front of us and let us, as a body, know what's going on about this taxation situation. I mean, I was asked by a reporter what would you do. My remark was move.
Are you finished? Okay, what I wanted to say is that that really should come under miscellaneous business. We're on special committees yet. We haven't gotten over that hurdle. So is there any other legislators, Ryan?
Mr. Chairman, just to clear up the ever ongoing question of the racetrack, we have the administration perhaps put one sheet of paper together that they could issue to the legislature just showing the procedure as to how it goes to the committee and how the racetrack is put out there, so we won't have these questions every month.
Could we add the cost and some other data so that we would have a full report?
Any other comments on special committees? Legislator Taylor.
One quick remark, and Mr. Frawley was here that night. We sat and listened to the Goals 2000, and it was very informative. There was a lot of questions that are in my mind about where we're going with it, but I was kind of sad to see that it said in the letter there was 11. I only counted 8. Now, I might have missed some legislators in the back, but I think that was a very important meeting that we should have tried to get to. And there are a bunch of questions that I think we all should be very aware that might be in the forecast.
Thank you. That's a good point. Fortunately, there will be more information meetings on 2000 in various parts of the county, so it'll probably be more convenient for some of you when those come around. I believe Legislator Hanson wanted to have something to say at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Really, it's more of a question. Last month in the August meeting of this body, Legislator Bryant was concerned about the $15 charge for the water testing for the health department. If he hadn't expressed a concern, I would have, because at first I knew about it when I read it in the newspaper. I share the same concern that he does about the health of our residents and $15 charge that might discourage them from having water tested. I have an additional concern of how that got done without being put on a resolution and brought before this body for a vote. I think anything in that matter that's going to put a fee on all the residents in this county should not be done in committee or in the department. I think it should have went on a resolution. But with that, I think Jim Bryan at the end, his concern was, and he was going to have a meeting with the health department and find out. So right now, I'd like to know the status of that. Are we still doing that?
Legislator Bryan, you want to respond to that?
Yes, the Health Committee did put me on the agenda the 28th of last month, and I appeared in front of them and gave them my facts and figures and expressed my concerns. And after some discussion, they did see that there was a lot of merit in taking care of the private drinking wells. All of them on the committee, I believe, were on public drinking wells. So, make a long story short, they said that they would rescind the resolution and go back to no charge. To follow up on what Legislator Hanson said, I also read it in the paper, and that was the first I heard of it. And then I did a little research, and they had passed it in their March minutes. It was a resolution that they had passed to address starting to charge for it. Other than that, I guess maybe the chairman of the Health Committee should respond beyond that. I'm satisfied that there won't be any charges anymore.
Legislator Bryan,
What Jim says is true. He did meet with us on the 28th, and we as a committee did rescind the resolution. And it's going through the legal process now to, I guess, clarify everything and that, and we'll be advertising in the paper as such. Steve is here, and I don't know if he has anything further to say on it.
Not a great deal to add, other than we are literally reversing the process that was established in March, and based on the committee meeting that Jimmy's referring to, and we had to go through a variety of steps of public notice, and so we are returning to the pre-March status, no charge for vendors. We have not, in fact, it was never implemented, so effectively, there has been no charge for water testing. We'll continue that policy. We're just going through a series of
The only thing I guess we should have added or should have come out, this was not very much money that it's costing the county. The total amount that was spent in the year of the flood last year was just under $12,000. And to date, August 14th, when I did the research, they were only at $3,900. So this is not a lot of money to provide safe drinking water for families.
I just want to address the point that it is within the committee's purview to set these fees, however, and certainly the committee handled it. The County Clerk's Committee sets fees, the Public Health Committee sets fees, believe you, the Highway Committee may set some fees, so it is not unusual for a committee to set a fee for service. I don't want you thinking that the Health Committee will turn their backs.
I'm thinking on that because I have as a legislator representing my constituents, a fee is being passed on to them that I had no say in. Now, I'll give you an example. On a committee, let's say the Public Works Committee, if they have to repair a vehicle, I say in that committee they ought to be able to make that decision, how much money to spend on that, repairing it or purchase a new part or whatever. That's within the realms of that committee. But I think that differs when you start to charge a fee, and county-wide, a lot of legislators are not representing their constituents, and they don't have a say in it. And I don't know the exact functions of a committee, but it seemed to me that's a little bit outside the function of the committee. I think they should have got the information no more than back in the racetrack, and the committee should decide to build a racetrack. That's a capital project. I think it should come to the full body.
Any further discussion on this? We'll go into resolutions now, but before we do, I would like to remind all the legislators something has sort of come up here tonight already, that the county Legislator Rule number 12 of the order of business that we operate under is that any member desiring to speak or present any subject matter to the legislature shall address the chair and shall not proceed until recognized by the chair and awarded the floor for such purpose. I admittedly have been a little exact in carrying out this rule, but I think that because we have started talking without permission from the chair, and it's been it seems to be worse than it was brought to our attention last month by Legislator Bryant, I think we better return to the rules of order as closely as we can so that everybody has the opportunity to speak and that people will not be talking to each other across the aisle or back and forth through the positions here in the legislature, so that we will have an orderly conduct of business in this legislature. Thank you. Legislator McMahon.
Mr. Chairman, I commend you on taking that stand. I think this is something that should have been done, and you've been very lax in allowing us to do this, but I think it's a good thing, and I'm pleased that you're taking this leadership role. It's a good idea. I just want to ask one other question. When is the miscellaneous part going to come up in the agenda?
Miscellaneous business comes after resolutions and unfinished business and before adjournment.
Okay, thank you very much.
At this time, we will proceed with resolutions.
Chairman, I'd like to offer the first resolution and urge its adoption.
Clerk will read the heading.
Resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of deeds of property sold by the Oswego County Legislature, titles to which were acquired by the tax sales of 1987 through 1991.
Is there any discussion on this? Legislator Beckwith.
Chairman, I see that there's a typo error in the town of Hannibal, county property 290. It says here it's in the name of Robert Smith. That is not so. It was William Simmons. I'd like to amend that.
William
Simmons.
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 William Simmons.
It's incorrect.
Is there any further discussion on this resolution? Not? You want to check on that?
Yeah, 40 minutes.
Yes.
Came through the committee assessed in the name of Robert Smith from the Real Property Tax Department and from the Treasurer's Office.
That's what you want.
Either pull it or I defer to the Treasurer's Office and I would, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would suggest that we pass the resolution as is. If there is an error by the Treasurer's Office or the Real Property Tax, then we'll pass it, we'll correct the error next month. That's all right.
Amend it with the contingency, if it is incorrect, we'll correct it.
No,
Not correct.
as is, because understand, it went through the committee, it came through both departments, assessed in the name of, as in the resolution, county property 290.
Legislator Bryant.
Chairman, I think if the legislator from Hannibal and the chairman of the committee that's offering this is asking for this not to be passed with his name on it, I don't know how we can do it. If we pass this knowing this may not be the correct name, we're putting this title with this resolution, this person's name. That can't be right. I'm asking, Bruce, could we do that? Is that correct?
What I'm saying is I believe that, I don't know whether, you've also got an individual that has paid money on this and probably wants to get his title, and if it's correct, if the committee is correct, and Legislator Beckwith is correct in this paperwork, and then we're correct that there won't be a problem. If there is a problem, we'll correct it next month.
Okay, my question, I guess, to you then are you saying it's legal for us to sell this piece of property if it was improperly assessed to this individual? If we're taking this property that was assessed to Robert Smith, we're not taking the property that was assessed to William Simmons. That's the property we're talking about.
We're taking property, 290.
Okay, but the property...
Whether it's assessed to Robert Smith or Robert
Well, it wouldn't matter if it was... It wouldn't matter though if it was improperly assessed before it became 290. If you took title to somebody's property with a wrong name onto it, am I correct?
I understand, but what I'm saying is that we took the property to 290 and it was done correctly, according to the Treasurer's Office and the Real Property Tax Office.
Okay, my question is, I'm not sure if it was done correctly. If he's got a different name and you're referring to it as a number, 290, I don't feel comfortable voting on it if it was assessed to the wrong person, title to the wrong piece of property.
Mr. Chairman? Yeah, I dealt with this property, and I'm familiar with it. And I'm sorry I didn't catch this typo error, but I feel it is an error. So I would rather hold the property.
All right, you don't have any problem with Mr. and Mrs. Bishop? I mean, they're not under any time constraint?
No, I don't believe there's a time restraint.
Okay, fine.
And my understanding is Legislator Beckwith has moved to amend the resolution to delete the third property, Town of Hannibal property 290 from the resolution.
I'll second that motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is amended excuse me.
That was on the
That's on the amendment, okay. Is there any further discussion on the resolution? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 2 is by Legislator Van Schack.
Whatever, I'd be glad to. Mr. Chairman, I present the following resolution to move for its adoption.
I'll ask the clerk to read the heading, please.
Resolution deleting positions from the Oswego County budget.
Is there any discussion on this resolution? Legislator Tabor.
I'm looking here that we have eliminated 4 labor positions from Public Works. I would like to ask why we hired somebody in a laborer's position 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the people who left with the incentive program. When we're on a hiring freeze, and the person that is hired as a laborer is not a laborer, and yet we're hearing to everybody that Don is short laborers. The bottom line is we've hired an ex-county legislator to fill a laborer's position who sits in an office and does equipment inventory, which could have gone through the other union and been done at the data processing. And I want to know how we did this, when in fact it says here, and it says in Cal Times, we were not going to replace people we let go. I'd like an explanation.
Legislator Bryant, can you
Mr. Chairman, can't be heard back here. Only bits and pieces, please. I know.
Could you speak up?
Everybody tonight, please. Can't hear them. There's something wrong.
Both fingers.
What figures? I said I have a problem with the fact that in the Pale Times and in our resolution here it says that we will not be replacing a laborer's position that we lost on incentive program. And yet we hired an ex-county legislator in a laborer's position that is not doing a laborer's job. He's doing a data entry job, an inventorying job, which could have gone through another union, and because he sits in an office doing this on a computer, and yet we're told we're not going to hire these people. I have 5 people in my town in the past year I gave applications to that asked to get onto Public Works, and I had to tell them that we have a hiring freeze and that they can turn in that application, but I would assure them that they probably will not get called. And now I find out 2 to 3 weeks after the people left with the incentive program that we hire this gentleman as a laborer, and is not a laborer. And yet I also hear that Donnie Maury is short laborers. So I'd like an explanation how all this can transpire, and we as legislators have set out there with constituents that we have to tell them there's really no hope for them to get hired.
The deputy county administrator will address that question.
I'll take a stab at it. You've got about...
I'd like to hear also from Mike, because he's the chairman of that committee.
The only thing I can tell right now is we got a Cheryl Taylor and then Jack just before.
I'm not going to argue with Mike. A lot of the questions you're asking are not highway questions, they're personnel questions. Let me briefly explain the way budget lines work. In the back of your budget every year, you'll notice that there are position numbers, okay? What this resolution is doing is deleting some position numbers, okay? What we have done in the highway department with respect to the retirement incentive, okay, is we have eliminated the positions that we list in the resolution. That does not mean that there are not laborers in other positions. What has happened in the highway department, because of the retirees all being upper-level people, crew leaders, highway supervisors, those are the primary people who left, that we have taken those positions and filled them with lower-level positions. Okay? The way the rules work with personal services is that if you have a line in the budget, as I say, in the back of your budget, and it is a higher level, you can fill either up to that level or a lower level position. So what we have done with the retirement incentive is that there are 11 people in the highway department. We have eliminated 11 positions, one for every guy who retired. Okay? The second part of your question has to do with the classification of the position, and again, that is up to the personnel director to go in and classify positions. For the most part in highway, we have, because of the ease in administering the department, we have kept it a very simple classification plan. We have light equipments, medium equipments, heavy equipments, laborers, and a couple other supervisory titles. We have not gotten into specifically, flagman or a D8 driver or those kinds of things, because that restricts your ability to hire and move people around. The individual that you're talking about is in one of the lines. I'd have to go and look and see exactly what line he's in, but if it's not a laborer line, it's a line higher than a laborer, because labor is the lowest classification in the highway department and is filled that way.
Legislator Reinhold? Or no, I'm sorry, Taylor.
Well, my concern is that at the level he was hired, he's making, I won't put an exact figure on it, but I can tell you he's making almost $3 more an hour than a data entry person would make at that level. And he's not out with a flag, and he's not out with a shovel. Okay? Now, why didn't it come through the other end? They have clerks in the highway department, all right? There's no reason why he should be hired at the higher cost to this county doing the job that he's doing. And if he's taking a labor position, it means there's not a laborer's position available to somebody else in this county that would qualify for a laborer's position.
Vacancy occurred, laborer, okay. It was in the budget. The department passed a hiring freeze authorization. The individual met the qualifications of the position and was hired. There was no request to reclassify. Everything was done. Whether we like the individuals that are hired is not the issue. You have a position in vacancy, you fill it. You fill it according to the rules. The rules, as far as I know, have been followed.
Legislator Reinhold, or Taylor.
I'm really sorry, but this is not based on whether I like the person or I dislike the person. The situation is that if we need a laborer outside on the highway, all right, and we're filling that position in an office, and when it comes time to have to fill a position on the highway, we've already filled it with that, and there was not, okay, there was not an inventory control person or a data entry person prior to this, so he did not fill a position that was vacated. All right, I really want something in writing, because when I have to stand in front of my constituents, I got a phone call on this. Somebody about 7 feet in the air because his son has had an application for 2 years into the county for laborer. Okay. Now, how do I tell them that, whoops, excuse me, we hired an ex-county legislator over you who already had a job, you don't have a job, but oh well, that's the way life is.
Legislator Johnson.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just curious as to the protocol when one gets appointed or hired to this position. If somebody could explain that to me, perhaps Mr. Seipel could, and if there was a list of candidates that were that one individual was selected from.
Mr. Seipel, can you answer that?
May I make a suggestion, Mr. Chairman? Could I be recognized?
I'll have to wait till after this.
I didn't hear that. Where do we stand?
Mr. Johnson.
What's the question?
My question, sir, is with the protocol for one to be hired in this position, and if there was a list of candidates.
Well, it's a non-competitive, it's a laborer's position outside the civil service system, so that the hiring authority, which is the superintendent of public works, does the hiring from his applications that he has on file. That's all I can say about it.
Can I respond? Yeah. So then, sir, are you telling me that there was an application on file among other for this particular position?
Well, I assume that. I don't know that for a fact because the file of applications is kept in the office of the Public Works Commissioner.
Legislator Van Schack, please.
Yeah, I appreciate the questions that are being asked, but the resolution does not deal with the questions that are being asked. What I would suggest to you, as we had a number of legislators who spoke before with matters of concern, that they raise the question, that they ask for a report to be made back, which is the appropriate way. But right now, I'm looking at a resolution, and I think, as it was said rightly up here, deals with personnel to a considerable degree. These are people who we've offered the retirement incentive program to. The positions are listed here, even though they might have been foremen who left, but as we all know in the state retirement system, if you knock 4 foremen out, I think we talked about this, Carl, you knock 4 foremen out of the box and delete those positions, you need to have foremen to continue the work. So these are laborer positions that are listed there. Now we're going into a whole investigation of hiring session. I'm not trying to cover anything up. All I'm saying is let us stay on the resolution topic, ask for a report. I'm not trying to deny you shouldn't ask for a report, but let's not keep doing this to every resolution that comes down, because I think I'm going to have to ask the chairman each time, is this germane to the resolution? Because before long we'll be a committee of the whole working on each of these, and yet I'm not trying to say you don't have a right to ask it, just at the appropriate time. That's all.
Mr. Chairman, it would seem to me that if we're going to discuss a highway resolution, deleting jobs in different departments, the department heads ought to be at these meetings to answer legislators' questions. And Mr. Morey should be here, and whoever else has got positions on here should be here in case there is a question in regards to these matters.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think that Legislator Tabor brought up some good points. If we're in a process here of eliminating 25 positions, a lot of them on the public works, and right in the middle of this, we hire a laborer that's not really a laborer; that's a computer operator. And I would like to have a report. Like Legislator Van Schack said, maybe we ought to have a report and examine our whole hiring policy. It is aggravating to have a constituent come to you and tell you, I was over there last week and they said we're not hiring anybody, and today news travels fast and they find out that a couple of days after they left, they hired somebody. Now, as a legislator, that's embarrassing to me. To have them, they say, what kind of a county are we running here? I think we ought to make these jobs available. I mean, we ought to advertise and let everybody know when we got a position, let fair play, let them bid on them. It's not being done that way. We need to re-examine it.
Thank you. Legislator Paul.
I got 2 questions. It was my understanding that when this early retirement incentive came about, that if a person was part of that early retirement incentive, then that job could not be filled. Is that true or is that false?
That's true.
No. Well, I'm sorry. A job must be eliminated in the department, not that particular job. Okay. Obviously, the problem that we ran in the highway department, ran into the highway department, or anywhere else for that matter, is that the guys who were retiring were all your senior men. In the highway department, we had 3, I believe, highway supervisors and something like 5 crew leaders. We lost our entire middle management out of the highway department. You can't delete all of those middle management positions.
Let me interrupt there, Jack. If we ran into a management situation such as that, we had the right to refuse them the package, didn't we? Right. So we created our own problems.
Again, what the county decided through the personnel committee with recommendations of administration, it was our feeling that I thought we were in the business of trying to save some money. Okay, this resolution talks about cutting $721,000 from this budget, along with 30% fringe. You're talking about cutting $900,000 to the budget. We are putting the highway department, we are putting all the departments under stress. Yes, it would be easier for us not to get rid of these positions, but it was the feeling of the personnel committee and certainly the administration that we were going to cut back, reduce jobs, and to eliminate jobs by going through this process. We knew we couldn't eliminate all the supervisory jobs, so the rule was for everybody taking advantage of the program, you had to give up a position.
Legislator
Mr.
Bryant.
Chairman, I had a second question. I said I had 2 questions.
No,
I said I had 2 questions.
Mr. Chairman, I will yield the floor to Legislator Crowley to ask the second question, then I'd like to be called on, please.
All right.
In reality, we did not eliminate $721,941. In essence, we did not. So that figure is false. I close my case.
Legislator Bryant.
Mr. Chairman, there was a lot of questions asked, and they weren't really addressed, I don't believe. What you have here are position numbers that are being eliminated. So when Legislator Tabor sees them, she has a legitimate question. She said there's 4 legislators leaving. Then she mentions someone's name. That has nothing to do with this. But these positions are eliminated. Whoever was hired didn't get one of these positions numbered. There was another position someplace else that was on a line item in the budget. That's what she needs to address. It needs to be addressed to the Personnel Committee, because the Personnel Committee can explain the procedure of the hiring freeze authorization as it goes through the committee, then it goes through the Personnel Committee, and that's how the individual is hired. As far as the applications and the qualifications, and if they're working in or out of their job description, that's a union matter. If this person isn't working as a laborer, then the union should be grieving it. If they're not, they've worked some arrangement out. But this has nothing to do with these numbers.
Legislator Beckwith.
I have a question for Legislator Bryant. He seems to be the expert. That's Jim. If this labor position that is computer entry or whatever, if that's under a labor position, then shouldn't the laborers that were already there have the opportunity for that position before they hire someone?
Well, again, if it's a laborer position, then a laborer would have to bid a different laborer's position. If this is an entirely different position, well, if this is entirely
Gentlemen, I think we're getting off the subject here, resolution here, and I think that's a discussion that has another place here at this time. Legislator Russell.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with you 100%. I think we're way off this. These are issues that are best addressed in Personnel Committee. I move the question.
Second. The question has been moved. I need a second. Second. All in favor of the resolution, say aye. Opposed? Opposed. Resolution is adopted. 1. All right, now we're on the resolution. All in favor of the resolution? Is there any other discussion? Okay. No. Is there? Beg your pardon? No. No voting, no. Okay. I didn't really get that vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Thank you. The resolution is adopted.
many questions.
I move, resolution number 3 is being withdrawn. Resolution number 4 is by legislator Murray.
Mr. Chairman, I offer this resolution to urge its adoption.
I'll ask the clerk to read the heading.
Resolution appointing members to the Region 7 Fish and Wildlife Management Board.
Any discussion on this resolution? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 5 is by legislator Warren.
Chairman, I offer the following resolution.
Ask the clerk to read the heading, please.
Resolution authorizing budgetary modification and establishing appropriation account for statewide water quality management program.
Is there any discussion on this resolution? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 6 is by legislator Reed.
Mr. Chairman, I offer this resolution and adoption.
Is there any discussion of the heading?
Resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Department of Social Services.
Any discussion on this resolution? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 7 is by legislator Blunt.
Chairman, I offer the following resolution for its adoption.
Ask the clerk to read the heading.
Resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Health Department.
Any discussion on this resolution? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 8 is by legislator Blunt.
Mr. Chairman, I offer the following resolution for its adoption.
I'll ask the clerk to read the heading.
Resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Health Department.
Any discussion on this resolution? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Next, resolution number 9 is by legislator Boyd.
Mr. Chairman, I offer the following resolution for its adoption.
I'll ask the clerk to read the heading.
Resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Health Department.
Any discussion on this resolution? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 10 is by legislator Russell.
Mr. Chairman, I offer the following resolution and urge its adoption.
I'll ask the clerk to read the heading.
Resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Probation Department.
Any discussion on this resolution? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Next resolution is by legislator Babcock.
Chairman, I offer this resolution urge its adoption.
I'll ask the clerk to read the heading.
Resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Buildings and Grounds Department.
Any discussion on this resolution? Legislator Frawley.
I see this as insurance recovery. I heard, I don't know if it's true or not, but there was some malfunction in the way the thing was installed. If that be the case, why do we have to use our insurance rather than going back to the installer or the architect or whoever to recover? Why we got to use our insurance? Is that true or false?
County Attorney.
We turned it over to our insurance company. We've subrogated to the company, and the company's going after whoever caused the problem.
Any other discussion on this?
Much easier, wait a minute, it's much easier to do that, get the money in our pocket, than to go through litigation for 3-4 years to find out who's at fault and collect the money. It's much easier to collect the money from the insurance company and let them go after the wrongdoer.
Any further discussion on this resolution? Not all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Next resolution is by legislator Van Schack.
Offer this resolution and urge its adoption.
I'll ask the clerk to read the heading.
Resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Department of Employment and Training.
Any discussion on this resolution? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Next resolution is by legislator Van Schack.
Offer this resolution and urge its adoption.
I'll ask the clerk to read the heading.
Resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Department of Employment and Training.
Any discussion on this resolution? Legislator Tate.
I just thought that we did not get that money. Evidently, we got it again for a certain period of time. I'm sorry? sorry, I thought the neighborhood, based association, am I in the wrong one?
Legislator Van Schack, can you answer the question, please?
What's it, excuse me, I'm sorry, the one on Fulton, you mean the grant?
Yeah.
This is part of the grant that's been given to help Fulton out, yes. Which needs help.
I believe Commissioner Rose can answer that question.
This is the last installment of a 5-year grant we received from the Department of Social Services. We're a competitive process, and we brought in approximately $1.5 million. This is the last piece of it, and this will absolutely close it out.
Legislator Paul.
Could I address a question to the commissioner?
Yes, you certainly may.
How effective has it been?
Neighborhood-based initiative program.
How effective has it been? Measure effectiveness?
Actually, they didn't provide the money to measure effectiveness, so it's really kind of a subjective evaluation.
At least, yeah.
Would you like my gut reaction?
Yeah.
Yes, I think it was well worth the effort.
Any further discussion on this resolution? Legislator Eden.
Mr. Chairman, I can't approve this because I got into many discussions, I say many, 2 or 3 times in Albany. The sheriff's department they're jockeying us into...
We're not on that resolution right now.
Huh? Not on that one, that's the only one I got.
Last in the packet.
The last in the packet.
14.
13, we're on.
Somebody's got a resolution on it.
Is there any further discussion on this resolution? Not all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Legislator Van Schack.
That's the last of the formal resolutions. I would like to ask for a 10-minute recess. During the recess time that the personnel from Ways and Means, I've talked with Ted about this Ways and Means Committee, will meet on a matter of negotiations. After that 10 minutes, I would move that we move into executive session, again, for a matter of negotiations. So I would like to request.
All in favor of the recess? Aye.
Okay, 10 minutes of that. We'll leave the conference room, Ted.
We're back on resolution number 14.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to waive the rules for one additional resolution dealing with negotiations.
Second.
I'd like to waive the rules.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. We will now proceed with resolution number 14. And the clerk will read the heading, please.
Resolution authorizing execution of agreement with the Sheriff Silver Star Association.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Roll call.
Roll call vote has been asked for.
Hanson,
Yes.
Skinner,
Yes.
Edick,
No.
Bryant,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Hosty,
Yes.
Boynton,
Yes.
Weinhold,
Yes.
Frawley,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Keeney,
Yes.
Beckwith,
Yes.
McMahon,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Warrenworth,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Greenfield, Vanchak,
Yes.
Shalfo,
Yes.
Hansi,
Yes.
Chetney, Turner, Walker,
Yes.
Bateman,
Yes.
Sedek,
Yes.
Babcock, Brown, Ward,
Yes.
Randall, Balcom,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Chesbro,
Yes.
Church,
Yes.
Buck,
Yes.
Tabor,
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
The resolution, the vote on the resolution is 1,184.30 yes, absent 28.98, and no 4.43. The motion is adopted.
Legislator Tabor?
Is this the time we bring up miscellaneous?
No, unfinished is next. Miscellaneous is next.
Okay.
Any unfinished business. I have a couple of miscellaneous things myself. All right, Legislator Tabor, go ahead with miscellaneous.
Two miscellaneous.
Be talk louder, please.
Yes, I'll turn this way. Don't put your finger.
Hey, watch your chair.
Two miscellaneous. I just flushed the fingers the last time. I want to bring up two items. One of them, I noticed in the paper, and Bruce felt it very strongly that we should have an article from the Board of Elections speaking about the sign situation that was going on with campaigns, and that's fine. But as long as we've done that, then I have a request that I think needs to be addressed. In my town, one of the rumors is that if you don't belong to the right party and you're the legislator, you don't get anything for your town from the highway department. Well, there's 36 legislators here, and I don't know how many of them have heard that rumor. I'm sure some of the Democrats have. So I would like to have something in the paper. I've asked Donnie Moore, he's not here, and Donnie did draw up a little statement for me, though he didn't sign it, but he did put it on his letterhead. And I did tell Don I was going to publish it, because I'm tired of hearing these rumors that since I'm not favored by the Republican Party, that my town is suffering. So I think if we clarify the county doesn't play partisan with the county highway department to the town highway departments, it certainly would make it much easier on all of us. Second, after that, that was a statement, and I want to roll into the fact that I still want some kind of clarification on the NIMO situation that I spoke about earlier. Would you please address that for me before we leave?
Let the administrator, Mr. Christie.
We read the Crane thing, I'm sorry, Jack, be quick. We read the Crane thing too. Obviously, that's a lot of conjecture that's out there. Our contacts with Niagara Mohawk, I don't think they know what's going to happen yet. As far as we have received no indication from Niagara Mohawk or the Power Authority or anybody else yet as to where they're going to go. The Crane article, I kind of give weight to it myself personally, but I don't think anybody's going to know until the governor's office gets involved and go down the road. Obviously, we're very interested. We're talking to our state representatives about it. We're staying on top of it, but there's no further information on it.
I'd like to, along with clarifying things, I'd like to clarify something. The county attorney isn't the one that felt compelled to express himself with regards to the sign. It's I that called the county attorney's office for a ruling and asked to have it done. And Rich and I consulted over the phone, all I wanted, and Bruce Clark was also consulted, who was away at the time, that I wanted a clarification as to what was legal and what was not legal, so everybody in the ball game in this county was playing on the same turf. I also think, if I may continue, that there's a clarification, as long as you ask the question in this chamber, Shirley, whether regards as any favoritism in the highway committee dealings, I think that can easily be answered by looking at the camera and say, no, there isn't. And since everybody likes to see the videotape, I'm sure they can accept that better than something published in the press.
I would like to see it in the press, Mr. Chairman. We're going to utilize our county newspapers.
Just a minute now. There's two or three people ahead of you again. Legislator Beckwith, I think, did you have your hand up?
I was just going to state that as being chairman of the Real Property Committee, I do have quite a bit of concern over that Niagara Mohawk issue. And if we could have a report, say, of your communication between the state and yourselves, the administrative office, every meeting.
I guess what I'd just like to say is nothing to report at this time, but I'll be glad to each month keep you up to date.
Legislator Bryant.
I'd like to address what Legislator Tabor said about the rumors with the favoritism of the highway. I wouldn't address it as rumors. I can give you first-hand knowledge, factual. My daughter and my grandchildren live in West Monroe. I drive through West Monroe every day. Her roads and her bridges are every bit as good as mine in Constantia are. They're in good shape, probably because long before she was legislator, the other legislators paved and fixed all the bridges and did all that work, and she doesn't have to. The roads and bridges are in great shape.
Legislator
Jim, I would like to rebut that a little bit. I can remember some years ago that we had a Democratic legislator in the town of Valmy that wasn't too well accepted in this hall. And I remember that there was some paving done. I forget what the route was, but it stopped at the Valmy line. And when I think Bill was elected to take his place, all of a sudden the paving started again. So don't give me that. Don't give me that.
I'll take exception to what Ed says, because it stops at the city lines too, because none of us city legislators get any paving out of the highways in this county.
Legislator,
Well, to answer Legislator Crowley, I was only addressing West Monroe, which Legislator Tabor does. I'd be glad to take a tour with Legislator Crowley if he'll provide the gas.
Could I answer that, sir?
yes, sir, go ahead.
Jim, I am talking about, the question was asked, is favoritism shown? And I'm saying yes, it is, because I know for a fact in the town of Valley, it wasn't 2 years ago, it was probably 10 or 12 years ago, that it was very evident. Matter of fact, I brought one of the newspaper people to take a look at it. They didn't have enough guts to print it.
Legislator Point.
Or take a picture of it.
Mr. Chairman, fellow legislators, you do have your policy. There was a typo on the second to last page where a name was mentioned. It shouldn't have been a name in there. It should have been the job number. Okay? And so I don't have the job myself, but that position, that individual does the same work, type of work that the superintendent does. It's more or less his background. So I just want to explain that to you. So don't ask me the questions on the name.
We didn't receive, point of order, we didn't receive a copy of the
Well,
policy, so I don't know what you're talking about. I'll put it in the minutes.
What are we talking about?
Starts with an O.
That Marguerite has for Jack getting them.
We continue this meeting away from my results. I believe Legislator Jarrett had his hand up. Did you?
Gosh, I guess there's one thing I'd like to point out with all the conjecture and all the thoughts, and it's been really interesting, a lot of the issues being brought out here, maybe not all necessary tonight, but nonetheless, it's been very interesting. I think there's something you need to point out in terms of budgetary-wise. Just tonight, we're talking in excess of $500,000 in grant money in these resolutions coming to Oswego County, not local property tax dollars. I think it's very significant, and it expresses the efforts and the quality of people we have working for us on a day-to-day basis. I think sometimes that might be overlooked a little bit, and I think it needs to be pointed out. Also, there's a cost savings in the neighborhood of $900,000 in terms of deleting those 25 positions, and I think that's something we need to dwell on, if not in public, at least in private, to realize that this is real dollars in savings that is being accomplished. Thank you.
Legislator
Mr. Chairman, this is in relation to what Legislator Tabor had brought up about the NIMO situation, and we've heard a lot of different types of situations. We've heard things reported in the press, but I would hope that when you get some more information, if you decide to form some kind of committee to be on top of this, or some group, that you would consult with the minority as well, so that we can both work, the minority and the majority, on this issue, because I think there's some issues that we need to raise to legislators on both sides of the aisle in Albany, so that we get our concerns across, and that's something that, you know, I think that we need to be looking forward on. I just want to express that to you.
just assist Legislator McMahon on there. All matters dealing with electricity go to general government, and it's always open to the minority leader. His comments are always welcome in there, and I'm sure I speak for the
Thank you very much, but I'm making a different plea to the chairman of this legislature other than dealing with a committee of this government. I'm talking about Albany and the situation that we might possibly lose this 9 mil revenue base. And I don't want politics on either side to be played because we're all in the same boat. I know people in Albany, just like you do or like somebody else does here, we need to make that plea totally together, I think, because this goes beyond politics. This is a very serious situation that could arise. Legislator Van Schack a number of times has talked about what has happened with the Power Authority, and we have all agreed with it. And we've acted as a committee of the whole in that thing because it was very serious. Okay? That's the plea I'm making. If I want to come to the government committee, I'll come and say what I want to them. But I can call up Democrats sometimes where somebody else can call up Republicans, and we need to work for this county. And that's what I'm saying to the chairman. Okay? Thank you very much.
Well, on that note, don't forget the conservative. Because I can call up Mike Long also, and Will. I think I would like to ask of you, Jack, that you talk, or Bruce, and/or that you talk to NIMO, you talk to our state representatives, and you get them in front of us. And I mean soon. I mean, from this Crane report, this was not something in the long future. This is in the near future. We're talking, they named Long Island and Fitzpatrick, or NIMO, as being the crucial ones, and we need to be aware of this. And as far as the other, as far as what I talked about, that is Public Works, please let me express. I do not think that I have been overlooked. I am saying that the powers that be in there are saying that they're being overlooked, and I'm saying that we're not being overlooked, and I'd like some kind of statement in the paper for that.
I'd like to go ahead. So I just addressed the IMO thing. Yes, we understand this is probably the most important thing that's going on. I just want to reiterate, and I'll be glad to get Niagara Mohawk in here to tell you what's going on, but what I need to tell you is they don't know themselves yet that the Crane report is conjecture. It may very well be true. When some action starts to be taken, obviously we will be involved and we will keep the legislature up to date and involved. But if you want to bring NIMO in, I can tell you right now what they're going to tell you is they don't know what's going to happen to them. But I'll be glad to do that.
Legislator Walker.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Well, we have a motion and a second. We have to vote on it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. We can't, excuse me, we can't adjourn. Well, I guess we could adjourn, but we still have more business. Well, it's miscellaneous. It's just the information that we have to get. Pardon?
We're adjourned except for the announcements.
Go ahead. I sent out a letter, a letter was sent out about tugboat ride, and we had 5 responses. The minimum number of people that'll take us 20. If we're only going to have 5, it's cancel it. Does anyone object to that who was indicate they want to go? If not, I will, or I'll cancel the trip.
You want to get some more people?
Okay, Marguerite, did you have something you wanted to?
No, just the boat tour. Also, there's a lot of valuable stuff in your packets tonight. Particularly, there's something in there about the RSVP anniversary luncheon, and quite a few of you legislators try to get to that, and it's very well attended, and it's a chance to meet a lot of your constituents out there. Also, your community service directory is on your desk, and there's a very important newsletter from the Environmental Management Council, so please take a few minutes and look at it. I had an update on Shirley Turner. She had an MRI today. She'll have the results of that test next Wednesday, but the doctor feels it's quite a serious disc problem, and she's still in a lot of discomfort, and so be sure and drop her a card and let her know you're thinking about her, okay?
I'd like everyone to know that Cecilia Piazza is due in a week to have a baby, and she probably won't be here next month.
One more thing.
Put them on their back.
One more thing. John D. Hollander spoke earlier about his 50-year open house at Soil and Water, and he left invitations like this, and I wonder how many didn't get them. He gave a blanket invitation here.
None of the Democrats got it.
Now you know why you wrote that.